Are you planning a trip to the Smokies? Whether you're staying in a cabin on a mountaintop or a hotel down on the Parkway, in an RV at the KOA, or the family tent in Elkmont, whether you enjoy walking the busy streets of Gatlinburg or a quiet trail in Greenbrier, if your idea of fun is speeding down on a mountain coaster or a vista view from a mountain summit, then this podcast is for you. I'm Chuck Schmidt, and I'm the Outsider. From moonshine to pancakes, from your wedding day to a family reunion, we're here to make your visit more enjoyable, more memorable, sharing with you more of the Smokies. So if your idea of the perfect park is Dollywood or the Great Smoky Mountains themselves, we've got a lot to talk about. So let's get started. But first things first, don't feed the bears. Hello everyone, I'm Chuck Schmidt and I am the Outsider. This is an episode of some pretty cool secret places scattered about in the Smoky Mountains area. Most people just walk or drive by many of these things and never realize what they just missed. A set of carefully hidden stairs that leads to a beautiful cabin. A bridge fit for a troll. A hidden tunnel underneath the road to Clingman's Dome. We're going to explore these secrets and a whole lot more on this episode, Secret Places of the Smokies. How about starting with a ferry house? That's right, a ferry house. One of the lesser-known spots is the Ferry House along the Twin Creeks Trail. I want to tell you about this cool little spot. But before we get into the Ferry House, let's talk about the history of this spot with you first. A man named Louis Voorhees bought and developed the land from 1928 to 1944. He owned 38 acres of the land in what is now part of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Voorhees wanted this area to be a mountain retreat, to get away from the crowds and away from the other people. Voorhees enjoyed experimenting with water power, which is probably why he chose the property where two creeks run across it. Soon after he bought the land, he started working on a dam for hydroelectric power. He also built a water-powered mill and many gardens where water features were prominent. Voorhees liked the use of water features as part of his landscaping. He also built a pool, as well as the spring house. And the spring house is now what's known as House of the Ferries. Just in case you're not familiar with a spring house, it's a small building constructed over a spring, formerly used for refrigeration. To get to the ferry house, it's pretty easy. You will have to hike the Twin Creeks Trail. To get to the trailhead, you can park at the Ogle Place parking area to start on the one side of the trail, or at Minot Park on the other side of the trail, just before the entrance to Cherokee Orchard Road. From there, you'll have to walk up the road to get to the trailhead. There's a small pull-off area by the trailhead, but parking in these two areas would probably be much easier. Twin Creeks Trail is an easy to moderate trail. It's out and back, round trip length about 4.5 miles, elevation gain of about 790 feet. This is not a heavily traveled trail. That's why the ferry house is a secret. It will be a little more overgrown than most other trails you're used to, probably not as wide as most other trails. This trail also runs parallel to Cherokee Orchard Road, so you will be hearing some traffic while you're hiking. You'll walk along the creek and see many buildings from the Voorhees estate. You can walk inside and see what living in log cabins was like without game rooms and jacuzzis and hot tubs. There's also the Voorhees estate house that you can see also. On one part of the creek, you can even see the watermill that Voorhees built on LeConte Creek. This is a good trail to see wildlife along the trail, so don't be surprised if you see snakes, black bears, that kind of thing. As you're walking along the trail and you pass the resource center, you'll see a small footpath jutting off from Twin Creeks Trail. Follow this trail to get to the ferry house. Once you get to the House of the Ferries, you'll see an arch wall with a simple open door, with stairs that lead to the top. You can go inside the spring house. The exterior and the interior are completely constructed of stone. The stone is covered in moss, which is probably why it was named House of the Ferries. It's pretty cool to look at the stonework and see just how out of place this really appears along a trail in the Smokies. That is the ferry house, and again, that is on the Twin Creeks Trail. Next up, if you liked ferries, then you gotta love trolls. Before the Great Smoky Mountains National Park was established, the Elkmont area, and I've talked about this on a few previous episodes, was a pioneer community, then a logging town, then a resort town for wealthy vacationers. When the park was established in 1934, Elkmont residents could choose to sell their homes for full value and relocate or sell their properties to the National Park Service for a discounted price and in return receive a lifetime lease. Once the National Park Service took over, Elkmont slowly started turning into a ghost town. Today, 18 of the cabins associated with the Appalachian Club are still being preserved by the National Park Service. The Appalachian Clubhouse and Spence Cabin were rehabilitated in 2010. Park crews also completed preservation work on 4 additional cabins in 2017. These 4 cabins are now open to the public, and you can walk through each of them. While the remaining cabins are closed to the public until preservation work can be completed, visitors can explore the Elkmont area on foot. Hiking the Jakes Creek and Little River trails will lead the visitors past the stone walls and chimneys that mark the former locations of the other resort cabins that once stood in Elkmont. One very interesting stop that should be on your list is the small stone bridge that is off the Little River Trail. The bridge is often called the Troll Bridge. A few hundred feet up from the trailhead is a gravel path that goes to the right. It runs parallel with the stone walls. Follow this path down, and to the left, you'll see the Troll Bridge. The bridge was part of this historic community, and I'm sure it served as a popular walking or biking trail back in its day. Much of Elkmont's original shape and structure has been torn down over the years due to safety concerns and clutter. The Troll Bridge, however, was spared of this fate. Instead, park officials had cleaned it up and fully restored it. The bridge is as sturdy and photogenic as ever. You can cross it, pose for photos on it, just sit back and enjoy its quaint beauty. You can visit the bridge at any time, but May and June are particularly vibrant. The moss is bright, the salamanders are scurrying about. Your kids will love exploring this historic bridge. Just don't get eaten by the trolls. And again, that's the Troll Bridge over in Elkmont. The next hidden secret is the Tunnel to Nowhere. In the 1930s and 1940s, Swain County gave up the majority of its private land to the federal government for creation of Fontana Lake and the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Fontana Lake is actually a reservoir for Fontana Dam, which was built as a TVA project during World War II to produce electricity for Alcoa aluminum plants in Tennessee, as well as for the Oak Ridge National Laboratory's Manhattan Project. Hundreds of people were forced to leave the small Smoky Mountain communities that had been their homes for generations. With the creation of the park, their homes were gone, and so was Old Highway 288, the road to these communities. The old road was buried beneath the deep waters of Fontana Lake. The federal government promised to replace Highway 288 with a new road and give everyone impacted lakefront property, speedboats, and they'd be free of property taxes forever. Okay, I made that last part up, but it sounded good, didn't it? Lakeview Drive was supposed to have stretched along the north shore of Fontana Lake, from Bryson City to Fontana, 30 miles to the west. And of special importance to those displaced residents, it was to have provided access to the old family cemeteries where generations of ancestors remained behind. But Lakeview Drive fell victim to an environmental issue, and construction was stopped, with the road ending at the tunnel about 6 miles into the park. An environmental issue was eventually deemed too expensive, and the roadwork was never resumed. And Swain County citizens gave the unfinished Lakeview Drive its popular, albeit unofficial name, the Road to Nowhere. On weekends throughout the summer, the Park Service still ferries groups of Swain County residents across Fontana Lake to visit their old family cemeteries for decoration days and family reunions. The legal issue of whether to build the road was finally resolved in February of 2010, when the Department of Interior signed a settlement agreement to pay Swain County $52 million in lieu of building the road. In 2018, the last payment was made in the settlement. The state of North Carolina manages the principal, and the county receives the interest each year. Lakeshore and Tunnel Bypass Trail Loop, the Goldmine Loop, is a 3.2-mile, lightly trafficked loop trail located near Bryson City, North Carolina. It's got an elevation gain of only about 446 feet. The trail features beautiful wildflowers and is good for all skill levels. To get there, you would go from the intersection of US 19 and Everett Street in Bryson City, turn north to drive along Everett Street. Once through town, the road becomes known as New Fontana Road. Continue on the same road until reaching the park boundary. Here, the road becomes known as Lakeview Drive. In total, it's about 8.5 miles out of Bryson City to the Lakeview Drive Tunnel. Since this is a loop trail, you can start your hike in either direction. For purposes of this trail description, we'll take you on a counterclockwise direction. If you have a fear of walking through the rather long Lakeview Drive tunnel, you'll have the option of taking the clockwise approach and using the tunnel bypass trail, which avoids the tunnel. From the parking area at the end of Lakeview Drive, hikers will immediately proceed through the tunnel. Fortunately, the tunnel is flat, it's easy to walk through, however, it's about 1,200 feet in length, or almost a quarter mile long. On a dark overcast day, you may want to bring a flashlight. Again, that is the Tunnel to Nowhere, and that's down near Bryson City. This next super secret I talked about not too long ago, and this is the steam engine on the Grapeyard Ridge Trail. Close to Gatlinburg and incredibly quiet, the Grapeyard Ridge Trail links Greenbrier Cove with the Roaring Forks Motor Nature Trail. Many opt to hike the trail from Greenbrier to the ruins of an old steam engine partway along, which makes for about a 5.8-mile round-trip hike. However, you can extend your adventure by going the full way to Roaring Fork, crossing the Grapeyard Ridge, named for the prolific grapevines strung through the forest in the process. The east end of Grapeyard Ridge Trail starts near where Porter's Creek, False Gap Prong, and the middle prong of the Little Pigeon River merge to create the Little Pigeon River, which begins flowing northwards towards Sevierville. There are 5 water crossings without the benefit of a footbridge. During the rainy season, the creek can be virtually impassable due to high water. If you wish to keep your feet dry, you can look a little further upstream and you may be able to find a spot to cross. The summer and the fall periods are usually drier. It's much better times to hike this trail when the water usually is never an issue. There's much evidence of bygone settlements, including Whaley Cemetery, not far from the Greenbrier Trailhead. But along the hike, you'll pass several old homestead sites, which were once part of a community known as Big Laurel. At roughly 2.1 miles, the trail leaves the creek and begins climbing the ridge to James Gap. As you climb, the trail passes through several long rhododendron tunnels. At roughly 2.85 miles, hikers are going to reach the top of the ridge at James Gap. From there, the trail makes a quick descent down to Injun Creek, where you're going to find the remains of an old steam engine lying in the creek. Although some may suspect that Injun refers to Indian, it's actually a misspelling of the word engine, apparently a mistake made by the old map maker. The engine is a Nichols & Shepard self-propelled steam-powered machine that was known as a traction drive engine. It was brought to the area in the 1920s to saw wood for the Greenbrier School. During its return trip, the driver wasn't able to execute a switchback and the engine tumbled into Injun Creek. Many of the parts were salvaged, but the rest was left to rust in the creek bed. A lot of it is still there. It's kind of cool to go down there and climb all over and just take a look at just how big a piece of machinery is laying down there still. So, as I said, round trip length is 5.8 miles, total elevation gain about 980 feet. Highest elevation is 2,540. Trail difficulty rating of 7.76, which is considered moderate. So, as far as getting there, at junction 441 and 321 in Gatlinburg, that's stoplight number 3, turn to travel eastbound on Highway 321. You're going to drive 6 miles and turn right into the Greenbrier. Look for the Great Smoky Mountains National Park entrance sign on the right. This road will turn into a gravel road after a short distance. From the highway, you'll drive 3 miles to the Grapeyard Ridge Trailhead. There'll be a small parking area along the road. Just before reaching the bridge, it will take you to Ramsey Cascade and Porter's Creek trailheads. And again, that is the steam engine on the Grapeyard Ridge Trail. The next secret is much like Cades Cove. Cataloochee Valley is a historic valley in the national park, and it used to be home to hundreds of people. However, this secluded region of the park receives only a fraction of the park visitors, so it's a perfect place to escape to, and again, why it's one of the hidden secrets. Today, this region of the Smokies is home to a wealth of historic landmarks. It's also a great place for viewing wildlife. In addition to seeing deer, bear, turkey, visitors to Cataloochee may spot elk, since this valley is home to one of the only wild elk herds in the eastern United States. You can enjoy a tour of Cataloochee by taking the Cataloochee Valley Road, a winding gravel road through the mountains. A variety of historic buildings have been preserved in the valley, including 2 churches, a school, several homes, and some outbuildings. This is the best place in the park to see historic frame buildings from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Cataloochee Valley is nestled among some of the most rugged mountains in the southeastern United States, surrounded by 6,000-foot peaks. This isolated valley was one of the largest and most prosperous settlements in what is now the Smoky Mountains National Park. Some 1,200 people lived here in this lovely mountain valley as late as 1910. Most made their living by farming, including commercial apple growing, but an early tourism industry developed in Cataloochee, with some families boarding fishermen and other tourists who wished to vacation in the mountains. In 2001, the elk were released into the valley as part of an experimental program to reintroduce elk into the park. The herd can still be seen regularly in the fields and in the valley, especially in the early morning and the evening hours. Visitors to Cataloochee can also enjoy viewing deer, elk, turkey, and other wildlife. And again, wildlife watching is especially fruitful during mornings and evenings in the valley's open fields. You can also learn about the area by taking the self-guiding auto tour, which includes the Little Cataloochee Trail. The inexpensive self-guide tour book is available at the roadside box near the entrance to the valley. There are several enjoyable trails to hike down in Cataloochee. The Boogerman Trail has a 7.4-mile loop, elevation gain of a little over 1,000 feet, trail difficulty level of 9.48, which makes this a moderate-level hike. That takes in the groves of an old-growth forest, and it's really popular with hikers. The Little Cataloochee Trail follows an old road past old cabins and a church. It's about 10.2 miles with an elevation gain of 2,300 feet, so a little more difficult. The entrance road to Cataloochee Valley is a winding gravel road that has some steep drop-offs with no guardrails. The road is narrow, so drivers may be required at some points to stop and back their vehicles up to allow oncoming motorists to pass. Horse trailer traffic may be encountered on the road, so please use caution when you're driving this road. Now, as far as getting there, the most direct route into the valley is to take Cove Creek Road. To get to the valley from Interstate I-40, exit at North Carolina exit number 20 and travel 0.2 of a mile on Route 276. Turn right on Cove Creek Road and follow the signs 11 miles into the Cataloochee Valley. To get there from Oconaluftee or Cherokee, take the Blue Ridge Parkway to Highway 19, follow 19 towards Asheville through Maggie Valley, turn left onto Highway 276 North, just before the entrance ramp to I-40, but past the gas station, turn left and follow the signs 11 more miles to Cataloochee. Using the Cove Creek Road route, motorists will be traveling on a gravel road for approximately 15 minutes. A more scenic route, and not recommended for RVs, is to take the long winding road. This is Highway Route 32 from Cosby, Tennessee to the Tennessee-North Carolina state border, where the road becomes gravel. It twists and winds into the Cataloochee area. The route is not recommended if your passengers are prone to car sickness, so you've been warned. Using this route, motorists will be traveling on a gravel road for about 45 minutes. So getting to Cataloochee, from Gatlinburg, it's about 65 miles. From Cherokee, it's about 39 miles. And again, that is the Cataloochee Valley. Our next hidden secret is Look Rock Tower. Look Rock Tower Trail is only 0.9 of a mile, and it's an out-and-back paved trail located near Maryville, Tennessee, and it offers scenic views and is good for all skill levels of hikers. The trail is primarily used for hiking, walking, nature trips, and is accessible all year long. Now, to get to the tower, hike from the Foothills Parkway to Look Rock Tower, the observation deck. The trail has a moderate elevation gain of 170 feet from the trailhead to the observation tower. You will pass an air quality monitoring station along the way to the tower. The observation tower is a concrete structure, allowing visitors to see as far as 40 miles on a clear day. Some points of interest are Cleveland's Dome, Mount LeConte, Rich Mountain, Thunderhead Mountain, and Cades Cove. Visitors may walk only to the viewing platform of the tower. Park officials blocked off the spiral staircase leading up to the enclosed glass observation room. The tower is now used as a weather station, so the observation room is full of weather equipment. The winds are often quite strong on the observation tower, so you've been warned. Sometimes you may feel like you need to hang on to something. The views are amazing from the tower. If you happen to be there in the autumn, the fall colors will just blow you away. One bit of warning is that some people have noted that the railing to the tower is low. It's about 3 feet, so if you have small children, be particularly careful around the railing. Adults need to be careful as well, especially on windy days. And again, that is the Look Rock Fire Tower located on the Foothills Parkway, located not too far away from Maryville, Tennessee. The next secret in the Smoky Mountains, and again it's another fire tower, but this is the Mount Camerer Fire Tower. Although it's a round-trip hike of more than 11 miles, this hike to Mount Camerer is still the shortest and most commonly used route to summit the 4,928-foot mountain. From the trailhead, hikers will climb the Low Gap Trail for 3 long miles before reaching the Appalachian Trail. This is a steep and relentless climb that traverses over several switchbacks, while taking hikers through a beautiful mature hardwood forest as they proceed up the Cosby Creek Valley. The first section of the trail travels between Cosby Creek and Cosby Campgrounds. Portions of this section share the same route with the Cosby Nature Trail, a short loop hike that begins from the campground. At 0.4 of a mile from the trailhead, you'll reach the lower Mount Camerer Trail junction. To continue on the Low Gap Trail, you should turn right here. At just over 0.8 of a mile, hikers will reach an alternative path for reaching the Low Gap Trail. Although this spur trail would shave some distance off your hike, you would have to stay at the campground to be able to use this route. At roughly 2.9 miles, hikers will finally reach the Appalachian Trail. By this point, you'll have already climbed more than 2,000 feet. Along the early portions of the Appalachian Trail, you'll continue climbing. However, the terrain isn't quite as steep as the Low Gap Trail. At roughly 3.7 miles, the trail begins to level off. The travel becomes much easier. Hikers will now traverse along a ridge that offers decent views of Cosby and Toms Creek valleys through the trees. At just under 5 miles, hikers will reach the rugged spur trail that leads to the summit of Mount Camerer. The spur is roughly 0.6 of a mile long. It's fairly level, but it does involve some rock scrambling as you approach the fire lookout. Although the last 1/10 of a mile traverses some fairly rugged terrain, it's nothing that would be considered exceedingly difficult. Once you've reached the summit, you'll be standing at an elevation of 4,928 feet, the summit of Mount Camerer, and it sits on the edge of a rocky outcropping overlooking the Pigeon River Gorge. On a clear day, the views are simply stunning. Some even say this is the best view in the park. For an even better vantage point, step up to the deck of the Stonefire Lookout. This Western-style tower, which was fully restored in 1995, provides hikers with outstanding 360-degree views. Using hand-cut stone, the octagonal fire lookout atop the summit of Mount Camerer was built by local laborers and the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s. The men who built the lookout drilled and blocked the stone from a quarry only 100 yards downhill from the tower. Some of these stones building the tower weighed as much as 600 pounds. The architectural style used for the lookout was called a Western style because it didn't require a raised structure above the trees. Between February 15th and May 15th, and then again from October 15th through December 15th, the structure was manned by lookouts who lived on premises on 2-week tours. The lookout was operated until the 1960s when modern fire detection methods were able to replace it. This is considered a strenuous hike of 11.1 miles, with an elevation gain of 3,045 feet, max elevation of 5,054 feet. But again, many people consider this to be the best view in the Smokies, and that's why, again, it is one of our hidden secrets of the Smokies. Okay, if you don't want to climb 11.1 miles up, here's something you can find that's below the road, and this is the Thomas Divide Tunnel. Many of you who have visited the Smokies have heard of or crossed Clingman's Dome Road, but we bet you've never seen what's below it. Did you know there's actually a secret tunnel underneath Clingman's Dome Road? The ornate archway is less than a mile west of the junction with Newfound Gap Road. Here are some of the details of the secret tunnel. When Clingman's Dome Road was finished in 1935, there was a trail that closely paralleled the upper section of Newfound Gap Road on the North Carolina side. It was connected to the Appalachian Trail on the far side of Clingman's Dome Road. Instead of routing the trail across Clingman's Dome Road, the engineers chose to build a tunnel under the roadbed. This old hiker's tunnel kept the hikers from having to cross over Clingman's Dome Road. Why the secret tunnel? Well, the reasoning for building the tunnel is really not certain, but there are a few possibilities. One is that Clingman's Dome Road is elevated above the Appalachian Trail, meaning that switchbacks or stairs would have been necessary to go up or down the road to use the crossing. Another is that the secret tunnel was designed for equestrian use to eliminate possible conflicts between horses and vehicles. It's most likely that the trail was simply used by hikers and riders from 1935 to 1960. Now, how to find the secret tunnel? When you turn onto Clingman's Dome Road, there is a gate that can be closed to shut the road down during wintertime traffic. About 0.2 of a mile further up the road is where the tunnel is located. Chances are you've driven over this tunnel without knowing its existence if you've ever been to Clingman's Dome. It looks like you're just driving over another bridge or a stone-walled culvert. But when you walk down the side of the road, you will find one of the most unique structures ever hidden in these mountains. And that is the Thomas Divide Tunnel, and it is located underneath Clingman's Dome Road. The next one is Avent Cabin. This historic cabin was built by Humphrey Ownby in 1845. It received its current name after being sold to Frank Avent in 1918. Frank's wife, Maina, used the cabin as an art studio until 1940. Though the park purchased the cabin in 1932, the Avent family retained a lifetime lease and used the cabin until 1992. 2 years later, the cabin was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Born in Nashville, Tennessee in 1868, Mina Avent would soon become a nationally renowned artist. Mina was famous for painting a variety of subjects in both oil and watercolors. She also carved wood blocks to create prints in the Japanese style. Her works have been exhibited across America, including the Smithsonian Institute National Portrait Gallery. You can learn more about Mina in the Woman of the Smokies book. It was published by the Great Smoky Mountains Association in 2016. The hike to Avent Cabin in the Great Smoky Mountains begins from the Jakes Creek Trailhead in Elkmont. To reach a trailhead from the Sugarlands Visitor Center near Gatlinburg, you're going to drive 4.9 miles west along the Little River Road and turn off for the Elkmont Campground, which is going to be on your left. After turning into Elkmont, drive 1.4 miles to reach a campground entrance. Instead of proceeding into the campground, turn left and drive another 0.8 of a mile to the parking area for the Jakes Creek Trailhead at the end of the road. If you're coming from Townsend, the Y intersection near Cades Cove, the turnoff for Elkmont Campground will be about 12.6 miles away. From the fairly large parking area, you're going to walk through the gate at the far end of the road to begin your hike along the Jakes Creek Trail. Almost immediately, you'll begin passing through remnants of several old cottages. After walking roughly 1/3 of a mile along the old gravel road, the Cucumber Gap Trail will branch off towards the left. Hikers should continue by proceeding straight ahead at this point. A short distance from this junction is the Miggs Mountain Trail, which forks off to the right. After passing the two trail junctions, continue up on the Jakes Creek Trail for roughly 0.4 of a mile. Locating a short, unmarked spur trail to the Avent Cabin can be a little bit of a challenge. You're going to need to take your time and keep your eyes focused on the right side of the trail. This is almost like a treasure hunt. At roughly 0.4 of a mile from the Miggs Mountain Trail junction, there will be a short but noticeable left-hand crook in the footpath. At this crook, the trail also passes over a shallow creek. From this point, you should travel another 25 to 30 yards and begin looking for a slight indentation of the trail that leads off to the right. You'll know you've reached the correct spur trail when you see a set of wooden steps leading directly off the side of the trail. If you have a GPS, the coordinates for this trail are 35.63731-83.58477. From the wooden steps, the short spur trail leads downhill to cross the Jakes Creek. After crossing a rather long footbridge, you're going to continue walking up the hill on the opposite side for another 50 yards or so to reach the cabin. Although it's not an official trail, the footpath is very easy to follow. However, during rainy weather, the path becomes pretty slick and muddy. This cabin contains bed frames, gardening tools, a stone fireplace, and an attached kitchen with sink, and iron cooking stove. This one is really a hidden gem. The cabin is so well preserved, you feel like you're standing inside someone's current rustic cabin waiting for the owners to arrive. I really had mixed feelings about including this one in the podcast. This cabin is so pristine, I would hate to see anybody come out there, one of these people who is intent on carving their initials into everything in the park and to face this beautiful structure. This is really a hidden gem in the Smoky Mountains, but really one that needs to be preserved. So if you do travel out to Avent Cabin, please do your best to preserve this wonderful piece of history, because this is just an outstanding example of one of these rustic cabins. And again, that's Avent Cabin. That again is in the Elkmont area. So, you got an all-wheel drive vehicle or a four-wheel drive vehicle and you're up for some adventure? If so, then you are in for a treat up by Cades Cove on Rich Mountain Road. Now here's my disclaimer. Rich Mountain Road is more primitive than many of the main paved roads in the park, so there are some issues you need to be aware of depending on conditions. The road is covered in gravel. It's usually suitable for most passenger vehicles, but heavy rains for an extended period of time can render parts impassable, or some parts not passable at all. You can inquire about the current conditions with the park ranger before traversing the road. I highly recommend that. Additionally, the road is seasonal. It's usually open only from April through mid-November. Buses, RVs, vans longer than 25 feet, and vehicles towing trailers are always prohibited on Rich Mountain Road. Okay, that said, Rich Mountain Road offers an alternative way to leave Cades Cove if you want to take a break from the traffic. It's a one-way, 12-mile journey on a twisty gravel road that leads north out of Cades Cove and ends in the town of Townsend. The The road winds through quiet forests that often feature excellent opportunities for wildlife viewing and nature photography. Cades Cove is one of the most visited natural areas in the country. There's no denying that during the busy season, the traffic on the main thoroughfares can get maddening. Rich Mountain Road is a quieter, less traveled road that offers some of the same opportunities for scenic vistas and wildlife watching opportunities. Despite the fact that it's easily accessible from Cades Cove, Rich Mountain Road feels like you are in a more secluded nature preserve. It's one of the most unfrequented areas of the park to public car traffic. The winding road passes by waterfalls, streams, cliff sides as it travels up Rich Mountain and down the other side towards Townsend. You will feel so much better about your ride up the mountain back to your cabin after taking this little adventure. I'm just kidding again. There is a scenic overlook on the road that provides an outstanding view of the Primitive Baptist Church in the valley below. This is the signature view of Cades Cove that you're always seeing in pictures, so make sure to have your camera ready. Keep in mind, this is a drive through the park and through a forest where beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Some people need a view from Klingman's Dome or Newfound Gap, and they want that on every turn. Others appreciate the quiet forest, the thick stands of trees, and they find beauty in that. Decide which person you are before you get on this 12-mile one-way road that exits out of the park into Townsend. You can access Rich Mountain Road from the Cades Cove Loop Road. The junction is on your right just after Hyatt Lane. You will not have access to this road on Wednesdays due to Cades Cove now being closed to vehicle traffic on Wednesdays. If you want to have a smoky secrets day on your vacation, you can knock off quite a few of these on your own loop tour. If you enter the park through Sugarland's entrance, turn right and head towards Cades Cove. In 4 miles, you'll come to the Elkmont entrance. In Elkmont, you can knock out the Troll Bridge and hike to Avon Cabin. Get back in your car, and you can head out to Cades Cove, where you can take the Rich Mountain Road to Townsend. In Townsend, you can grab lunch at the Burgermaster Drive-In, and then catch the Foothills Parkway, heading back towards Pigeon Forge. The Foothills Parkway will take you to Look Rock Fire Tower. Stop and take some pictures. Enjoy the incredible views from the parkway. In one day, you'll see more of the park secrets that 95% of most visitors miss. Now, there are also a few cool little hidden secrets around the towns, and here's just a few. Harrisburg Covered Bridge. Before the Harrisburg Bridge was built in 1875, the McNutt's Bridge, which washed away during a flood, existed in the same place. In March of that year, the Sevier County Court ordered a panel to be used to carry out and organize construction of the new bridge. As usual at the time, the local population contributed to the financing or provided with construction materials or worked as an assistant on building the project. The voluntary cash donations totaled $50, with the county kicking in a whopping $25. So yes, this bridge was built for $75. In the late years of the 19th century, the population grew around Harrisburg, and life in the area flourished due to the many local mills and the blacksmith workshops. By 1915, a new bypass was built around Harrisburg, and the community slowly disappeared as many people moved away, but the bridge remained. In 1952, the bridge was stabilized with the help of a concrete bridge pillar attached to the building framework. In the 1970s, the overall state of the bridge had deteriorated so badly that they were going to demolish it, until the organization, Daughters of the American Revolution, raised the necessary financial resources to rehabilitate the bridge by donating revenue, and it was probably more than $75. It was also that organization that made a request to include the bridge in the National Register of Historic Places, which succeeded in 1975. In 1983, the bridge was reestablished, but it was noted that the bridge had a crossing weight of only 3 tons. In 2004, various repairs were made to the bridge. After this renovation, the permissible weight was increased to 15 tons, and as of 2010, an average of 20 vehicles per day were crossing the bridge. If you want to see the bridge, if you're heading over to the Bush Beans Museum, you can make a short little side trip. It's not far out of your way. Take the Dolly Parton Parkway to Old Newport Road onto Old Covered Bridge Road. And again, that is the Harrisburg Covered Bridge in Sevierville. Next up is the Dolly Parton statue. You would think that this would be inside Dollywood, but no, there is a statue to Dolly Parton in downtown Sevierville. This statue is Sevier County's way of saying thank you to their favorite daughter for her incredible generosity and relentless promotion of tourism in the Smokies. Despite her tremendous success, Dolly never forgot where she came from. In 1986, Dolly Parton opened Dollywood, which is now the largest employer in Sevier County and the #1 ticketed attraction in the state of Tennessee. Soon after Dollywood was launched, the people of Sevier County started raising money for a statue of Dolly to display in downtown Sevierville, and they raised more than $75 this time. Local artist Jim Gray was chosen to create the statue, having submitted a 10-inch wax-over-metal model of the statue as a proposal. Once Gray's concept was approved, Dolly came down to pose for the statue, sitting on a stool, barefoot with her arms wrapped around a guitar. Next, Gray built a skeleton of Dolly from steel and brought her to life with 300 pounds of clay. Jim Gray spent over 2,000 hours creating the Dolly Parton statue in Sevierville. The statue was officially unveiled May 3, 1987, which was exactly 1 year after Dollywood's first opening day. The ceremony was attended by Dolly, her father Lee, and a crowd of over 500 spectators. Speaking at the event, Dolly told the people of Sevierville that the statue makes me feel like you folks are proud of me, and I've always wanted you to be. Jim Gray also spoke at the ceremony, telling the crowd that he had received more offers for help on creating the statue than any other project he had ever worked on. Gray recalled everyone wanting to help carry clay or anything, but he said he wanted to do this one himself. There's a cute story Dolly Parton told about her late father, Lee Parton, on an interview with Jimmy Kimmel. After her father died, one of her brothers told her that her daddy used to put a big oil drum bucket of soapy water and a broom in the back of his truck, and late at night he would sneak over to the statue and he would scrub all the pigeon poop off it. A father's love for his daughter. It touched Dolly. She cried her eyes out. If you want to see the statue, it is located in downtown Sevierville at the courthouse, located at 125 Court Avenue in Sevierville. And if you're looking for a great meal while you're down there, swing over to our friends at Gray's Burgers, not too far away. And again, that is the Dolly Parton statue in downtown Sevierville. Our next secret of the Smokies, and it's just a really unique little museum that's fun to go through, it is the Salt and Pepper Shaker Museum, the world's only Salt and Pepper Shaker Museum. Next time you're down in the Smokies, stop by and see over 20,000 sets of salt and pepper shakers from around the world and a huge collection of pepper mills. Now I'm sure the first question that comes to your mind is, why would somebody open this museum? One of the main purposes is to show the changes in society that can be found represented in salt and pepper shakers. As you walk through the museum, you can see the changes from ancient times to the 1500s, the 1800s, 1920s, the 40s, the 60s, all the way to present time. Another purpose of the museum is to show the variety and the creativity that can be found in salt and pepper shakers. Who were the people, who were the artists creative enough to come up with all these amazing and different shapes? The third purpose of the museum is to bring people together. We are all connected to salt and pepper shaker collectors. A grandparent, a family member, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor. Everyone has a memory about a salt and pepper shaker, either from their childhood or later in life. And you know what? Here's mine. When I was a kid, my grandmother had a salt and pepper shaker in the shape of a toaster. The toast was the color of white bread and rye bread, and the toast went up and down inside this toaster with the push of a button. As a little kid, we were entertained by these shakers. That was a different time, right, when you can entertain a kid with the salt and pepper shaker. But when I toured the museum, I kept an eye out specifically to see if they had the toaster salt and pepper shakers. And sure enough, yes, they did. They had the toaster. I was amazed. So as you explore the collection, you will see the salt and pepper shakers displayed by themes and colors. They also have created little stories within the displays. Each theme is separated by pepper mills. They currently have over 1,500 pepper mills from all over the world. Check out the mechanisms on these pepper mills. They're fascinating, from very simple to very complex. And again, this is the salt and pepper shaker, and this is in Gatlinburg. Next up is a great place tucked in a completely out-of-the-way location, and it is the Wild Plum Tea Room. Inspired by Austrian-style tea houses, lunch at the Wild Plum Restaurant and Tea Room is a must for any visit to Gatlinburg. Located in the historic arts and crafts community, they offer fresh, homemade, delicious food unlike any other restaurant in Gatlinburg. Although they were originally established as a tea room and a lunch restaurant, they are now much more than just serving tea and just serving lunch. Their lunch menu selection may include appetizers, soups, salads, specialties, desserts, and more. Vegetarian, vegan, allergy-accommodated meals are available. From their hearty lobster pie and their famous wild plum chicken salad, they're sure to find something for every person in your party, including kids. And do you need to bring the pooch? They are one of Gatlinburg's dog-friendly restaurants. Dogs are allowed outside on the porch deck with their owners when weather permits. Please make sure all dogs are on leashes. They're happy to provide your furry friend a bowl of cold water while you dine on the deck. Sorry, but no dogs other than service dogs are allowed inside the restaurant or in the enclosed patio area. The Wild Plum is open only Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Reservations are recommended. They do not accept same-day reservations, so you're going to need to plan for this one. Pre-planned curbside is available Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Food is prepared fresh daily, 24-hour notice on any pickup orders. The Tennessean Magazine rated the Wild Plum Tea Room as one of the 10 best restaurants in Tennessee. Now you know why it made our secrets list. You'd think this restaurant would be located in downtown Gatlinburg, but no, they're tucked away in the arts and crafts community at 555 Buckhorn Road. Plan ahead, you won't be disappointed going here. This brings me to our last secret, and this is a 2-for-1 self-spoiling secret. Did you know that you could have a personal chef come and prepare a great meal directly at your cabin or chalet? Or that you could receive a wonderful massage out on the back deck of your cabin or chalet? Well, you could do both of those. Fruitful Vintage can come to your cabin rental or home and prepare delicious meals on site for your special event. Chef Ray's goal is to add unique service and a personal touch to every customer he serves. Buffet services include breakfast, lunch, dinner, holidays, finger foods, or you can arrange your own barbecue, again without leaving your cabin or chalet. From a 4-course romantic dinner for 2 or a 3, 4, or 5-course feast for 20, they can make your meal special. Check them out at fruitfulvintagechef.com for complete details. Next is Gatlinburg Mobile Massage. If you just returned from that hike to Mount Cameron and you need to relieve those aching muscles, or maybe you just need to help enhance your stress relief vacation, Gatlinburg Mobile Massage will come to your cabin or chalet for a relaxing 60 or 90-minute professional therapeutic massage. Gatlinburg Mobile Massage is Gatlinburg's #1 mobile massage team with over 450 5-star reviews. Weather permitting, they can set up on the deck outside your cabin, and you can enjoy the tranquil sounds of nature and feel the fresh mountain air surrounding you as you enjoy your outdoor massage. Check out GatlinburgMobileMassage.com for more information. Well, that wraps up my Secrets of the Smokies episode. 10 of them inside the park and 5 of them outside the park. It's one thing to hike to a waterfall or a scenic view, but something else when there's a little bit of a secret treasure hunt involved to make things a bit more fun. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember, a fed bear is a dead bear. Please don't feed the bears. Thanks for listening. An Outsider's Guide to the Smoky Mountains was brought to you by Dancing Barefoot Cabin. If you're looking for a log cabin lodging experience beyond the ordinary, then Dancing Barefoot Cabin is for you. Conveniently located in between Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. Explore the possibilities at dancingbarefoot.com. That's dancingbarefoot, BEARFOOT.com. Pizza Bear illustration by Kenton Visser. Music by Jay Denton.